What's up, guys? Welcome to Next on the Mic. I did want to give a brief introduction before the actual episode today so that I could explain that today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We did have the fantastic comedian Susan Rice here in studio, had a great time with her. Actually went to the show afterwards and stuff, and that's part of what's going to be different. This episode will have a follow-up episode where Michael and I recap what it was like going to the club and watching Susan's show and all that fun stuff. With that, we did want to give an explanation as to why this episode's a little bit different. We had a series of unfortunate events here in the studio that led to a burst water pipe. With that came a loss of footage. We had some camera and technical issues related to the scenario. So we did manage to salvage the camera angle that was covering Susan and most of the conversation. We want to air that for you so you don't miss out on it. In addition to that, we will be doing a follow-up episode where we discuss things that are not on camera and that went on behind the scenes. Enjoy the show.
How's that?
That
How are we
is
doing?
significantly
Okay,
better.
good. Okay.
So much better. All right. And we are actually rolling. So
Okay.
welcome to the show.
Thank you very
Next
much.
on the mic. For our audience, if you guys don't know who this brilliant woman is, this is Susan Rice.
Oh, I'm brilliant. I don't know. Brilliant.
Or she's a Portland treasure, is one of the ways she's been introduced
Oh,
before.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I pay him well.
You pay him well.
Yeah. They're
and,
afraid of me.
And are you on tour right now? Is that what it's like? It's a whole tour, or you're just doing a couple of
No,
spots?
I'm kind of fulfilling some obligations that I have. I've booked out. I've worked for Nikki over at Wild River.
Okay.
Many years, and so yeah.
Yeah, she seemed very familiar with you when I was
Oh
talking
yeah,
to
we've
her
been
about
together. I mean, she calls me when she needs. I need help booking. Okay, that
Very
kind of thing. Well, she's not. That's not her wheelhouse. So
it. Right, and because you're based out of Harvey's, right? Are you still
I
based out of
was. Well,
Harvey's?
Harvey's is closed.
Oh, did it close?
Yeah, they. It's sad. Harvey's was my home club for many, many, many years. But it was COVID. And that area just it just went to hell in a handbasket. So he had to he held out for another comedy club to come in and rent the space because it's a beautiful club. It was a beautiful club, and he had done all these renovations, but it just didn't work out. So he owns the building, so he had to rent it out too. It's now a Latin dance club, which is fine.
Yeah, that's still fun.
Yeah.
But that's
It's
kind of a
being
bummer when
used.
you see a comedy club go down.
Well,
It's-
yeah. After all the years, I mean, it had been the last laugh prior to that since 1984.
Yeah.
And then he took it back over. Barry, the owner of the building, took it over in 90 or 91. So it ran for many years. Anyway.
And if I'm getting this wrong, feel free to correct me. But you were the first person to perform on that stage.
I was the second Portland comic to perform on that stage. Mike Spokes Johnson was the winner of the first Laugh Off we had in Portland.
Oh, very cool.
From John Fox, who runs the San Francisco Laugh Off. Anyway, yeah, I was the second. Yeah, wow, you went digging.
Well, like I said, I was a fan of yours before.
Oh my God. Okay.
So I'm a
Yeah.
huge comedy aficionado.
Oh, good.
Grew up on Carl.
I was going to ask you guys if you were stand-ups, but
I would love to get into stand-up.
no, fuck,
but
don't do it. Don't.
I'm not a fan.
No, go ahead if you want to, but I'm just saying.
No, it's something I've always wanted to do. But growing up, I literally born and raised Grants Pass.
Yeah.
So the opportunities have almost never been here.
I know it smells like pot in here, so of course you're raising
That
Grants
is
Pass.
That is a grand pass. It is everywhere.
It's been a Grants Pass thing for even
Yeah,
before it was
now
legal.
it's an everywhere thing.
So anyway, great. Well, thank you very much. It's very sweet that you did your homework.
Yep. And so for the audience,
Did you find out about my stripper years? No, I guess not. Anyway.
no, but your Baywatch though, I had to go
Oh,
back
the
and
Baywatch,
rewatch
yeah,
Baywatch
yeah,
episodes.
yeah. I was a floater. Um, That's
I
the way
love
it
that.
worked out. Yeah, boy, that is old. Anyway, I have to bring that back. Anyway, well, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah, no problem.
Grants Pass has always been a little an enclave. I've always my best friend's grandmother lived here, and we used to work here when it was not out at Wild River. There was a couple little clubs,
Little spots,
yeah,
yeah.
little spots around. So
That's amazing.
And we are seeing a rejuvenation of that now here in town. Like Wild River's picking it up. The Area 61 is doing open mic nights now.
good.
So we're getting a resurgence.
Well, there's a resurgence. There's a whole. Your generation and younger are responsible for the new boom, comedy boom that's happening across
Yeah.
the country. And people my age, for those of you who don't, well, I guess it is going to be on video so they can see how old I am. I was in the first comedy boom. I went through the first comedy boom. And,
Right, in the 80s.
it started in San Francisco. Well, it started on the East Coast in the late 50s and didn't make it across the country till the 70s, probably 74, 75. And then San Francisco, Holy City Zoo, Purple Onion. And then it made it up to Seattle first. Comedy came up to Seattle in about 79. And Portland didn't get in until 82. So we were late to the game.
But then you guys are like rock stars.
Well, it was so underground. It was like anything. You can't compare it now because of social media. You know, nothing lasts more than like a 48-hour cycle,
Right.
and then it moves on. But back in those days, comedy was very underground, and it was the hip thing to do, and there would be lines around the block for open mics.
For people wanting to perform or people wanting to watch.
They want to watch.
Yeah.
And we had a small little venue called the Leaky Roof Tavern in Portland, Oregon. And there was literally, if you put 30 people in it, 10 of them were standing.
Right.
And then they would actually, even when the weather wasn't good, she would charge people $1 to stand out, and we'd open all the windows and they could see the comic from the street. And they would, they
That's
couldn't
so cool.
drink. They'd bring their own flasks or their lawn chairs, and they would watch, they would get into the street. It was crazy. And then about 4 months after I started, there was so much comedy in Portland that you could do a show every single night for a month and not repeat a room.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And
See, I know Portland's got a lot of clubs now, but I didn't realize it was that big then.
yeah, we talk about clubs. By 84, we had 2 week-long A clubs
Oh, okay.
in Portland. By 1980, by probably September of, well, maybe it was 83. It was September of 83. We had John Fox that opened, who was the Punchline in San Francisco, and others. He opened a club in Portland, and then The Last Laugh, who was based out of San Jose, opened Harvey's, what became Harvey's, and they were rivals. They had been partners to begin with, but then they were
Oh,
rivals.
it turned into a rivalry.
But it was, and then it was one-nighters everywhere.
Right, yeah.
And Portland has a lot of mics.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's Doe, which has been going for a long time down in Portland on Mississippi Avenue. They've been doing that. And they just, I'm the one banging the drum going, okay, you can't do comedy. You have to pay your comics. If it's a show
Right.
and not a mic,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth a beer. They have to be able to pay the money that they would pay for a beer to get in. I mean, that's
Right.
on a Wednesday. How much does a PBR cost, for God's sakes? And I'm banging the drum. Finally, they started charging, and that kind of stuff. But you have to train, because no offense, you guys, you young people are little cheap little bastards.
Oh, yeah.
They're training a whole audience not to pay for something that they enjoy.
Right, yeah.
And you don't
Which
get
is-
into movies for free.
Right.
Not anymore.
And not ever. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
it's entertainment. So it only keeps it sustains the art, it sustains the scene,
Right.
and there's a lot of rules that that are unwritten, but you know, this generation, you didn't invent comedy.
Right.
Just like when we were coming up,
Right.
we were taking crap from Mort Saul and Sid Caesar and all those guys who were going, oh, these young ones, this kind of stuff. And they were right in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
They hated the new style. But
Right.
but we had a very thriving scene.
See now, so you mentioned style, and that's like I said, as a big comedy fan, I always like to look at people's
Yeah.
the different styles. I like that you have kind of a crossover, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen, of like storytelling, but you also have like the hit punch cadence as well. You do both.
I know how to do a tag.
Oh yeah, you do tag.
The thing about it, yeah, I was laughing because I was talking. Karen Rontowski is a friend of mine, and we were laughing because she had a big change in her life where she had to go take care of her parents and stuff like that. And I said, it comes. It's like everybody has these waves as they grow into themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up I came up in comedy with really amazing comics and really strong writers. And you had to bring it, especially as a woman in this business back in the 80s.
Right.
You had to prove yourself every single time. You couldn't go golfing with the booker
Right.
and just get, 15 dates a year,
Right.
or as my pretty friends had a hard time because they were expected to do other things
Right.
to get bookings. And that was real.
Yeah.
That's not a myth.
Well,
And-
that's sorry to interrupt,
No, go
but
ahead.
that's one of the things that you mentioned. We didn't invent comedy, and like with the technology and the internet and everything, all this stuff is blowing up about how the corrosive and perverse things can be in the entertainment industry. But
Well, it
we
is.
didn't invent that either. You know
But
what I
there,
mean? Like, that's been happening for years.
The generation that came, the kids that were born in the 50s and in the early 60s that came up in comedy later in the 70s and the 80s, there was a lot of dysfunction
Yeah.
among the comics. There was a lot of addiction. There was a lot of drinking. There was a lot of drugs, and that was part of the scene. You put a woman who I got in late. As far as the age of a comic that was
Right.
in 83, they were between 23 and 27 years old. That's an average. There was very few of us. I got in when I was 31.
Right.
I was 31, and I'd already done everything. I'd been a professional actress for 9 years. I did, and I had gone through my 20s, and 20s are hard, but you get a lot of shit out of the way.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was ready to focus.
right.
no.
You were one of the comics who was taking the payments in cash instead of Coke.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Did you listen to some podcasts? Is that what you did? I don't know that I did. Anyway,
Like I said, I'm a fan from before.
oh my God,
And then
I
when I
know,
found out
but
I was
that's
gonna meet
scary.
you in
Are you
person-
stalking me? What the hell? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I don't
Internet's
know.
a
I don't know what
powerful
I've said over the years, but yes, and I also closed that club down in Canada.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, when they wrote me a check that it was 2 signatures and there was only 1 signature, and I worked for a bank, and I said, you have to have 2 signatures. No, it's okay. We don't have to have 2 signatures. It'll work. And they wouldn't give me cash. So
Oh, geez.
I'm so sorry. And so I closed them down. I came back to the bank, and I showed it my supervisor. She goes, no. And she goes, you know what you're going to do? And I said, I think I'm going to call the border.
Oh, is that what you ended up
Yeah,
doing?
I called the border patrol, and I said, listen, I'm a comedian that I just performed up in Canada at this club, and these are the owners, and they just wrote a bad check,
Oh, geez.
and you need to call them and stop any comics that are going up because they won't be paid.
Oh, that's why you called it. Okay.
And
I
the
was
board-
trying to figure out how the border
and the
played
border
into
went,
it.
what? I go, yeah, they're not going to get paid. And I said, or unless there's substance involved, and that's when they went, we're gonna give him a call.
Yeah, there you go.
And they gave him a call,
Yeah.
and I got the money wired to me within an hour.
Wow.
I mean, it was like, I'll shut your ass down.
Yeah.
Don't mess with me.
Mm-hmm.
But those were, I was older then. You
Right.
know,
You were at that mature point,
I
yeah.
wasn't a kid. You know,
Right.
I was like so. And women. There was only like 20 of us on the road at that time, about 1984, 85. And I quit my day job in 85 because I had tripled my income.
Yeah, that's always a nice.
That
move.
doesn't happen now.
No.
The money hasn't changed. That's the problem. That's
Well,
what
that's the difference now is like if you're like Matt Rife, right? Like you do it forever, and then
he's not doing it forever. Matt Rife's been in the business about 5 years.
Has it been that long already?
well, he started when he was 15, and where did he start? In Detroit.
Yeah, well, I know that he's very talented. Please don't get me
No,
wrong.
no, I didn't think that's what you're
But
saying.
Matt Rife has not worked the road.
Well, no,
Right.
well, especially not compared to you. He went to TV after his
He's
mom was driving
really
him.
cute.
His mom was that's everybody says. His mom was driving him to clubs and stuff when he was underage though, which was pretty. I mean, that's for
Mother of the year.
right.
Anyway, yeah, that's fine.
But compared to you, no.
Well,
he
no,
definitely
no.
has
I
not
mean,
been in it
he's
for
very
long.
talented. Unfortunately,
What I was gonna say
What-
is that he blew up overnight.
he did blow up. Well, I mean, he
Yeah.
blew up, and he was ready.
Yeah. Well, and he was working before that too. I mean, he was on Wild and Out and stuff.
Well, yeah, and he has, he was. That's the thing is that you guys are so. It's all about being tech savvy and about being, plugged into social internet. So, like algorithm, you have to know all that stuff.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know shit. But, and I worry about him, only because, I'd love to see a live show of his, because I know there's material in there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there is.
All you see online is his crowd work.
Oh, okay.
And
yes.
so that is not material, that's crowd work.
Right. Yeah. That's.
Now, he's really good at it because if anybody's listening to this that doesn't know, crowd work is not off the cuff. It's planned.
Right.
It
That's what I thought you meant when you said there was material in there. Because, like, yeah, you look at the audience, you go, okay, there's going to be a divorced person.
he's had so much experience talking to people. He is not going to ask a question that he doesn't have at least 6 different answers for.
Right. Couple punches, couple
I mean,
tags.
he's not going to, and he has to pick his crowd. He has to pick he pick the person because I'm sure he's been rushed before on stage, because
Not everybody can take a joke.
it's the hardest form outside of stuff that like oh God, what is his name? Anyway, it's a really hard form of comedy because it makes club owners really nervous.
Right.
And that and straight one-liners.
Mhm.
Stephen Wright. We came up. Stephen Wright. I did shows with Stephen, and the club owners were before he hit. They were nervous because he was so low key.
Right.
And now he's having a resurgence. God love him. He's so brilliant. He's a brilliant writer. And but anyway, yeah. So I just hope he has good. I hope Matt has really good handlers. I hope he has a really good team on his side. He seems to. He just blows it up. He did. Outdoor performances are so hard.
Oh, yeah.
They're so hard. And when he does these big, huge crowds, he's got to slow down so much because he is so animated and so rapid fire. He has to slow it down.
Yeah, if you give the audience time to react.
Well, it goes out and has to come back at you.
Yeah, especially outdoors.
Yeah, and it doesn't, because it doesn't go and bounce off the walls and come back at you right away.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, I have a lot of respect for him. I didn't know 15. Okay, that's.
And it might have been 16. I
I know
know that
that
he was in his early teens, mid-teens.
Well, I think his father also committed suicide in front of him, and I think it was in his teens. So I'm sure the mother was looking for something for him too. to grasp hold of.
And I haven't done a deep dive, so I don't know his history.
Yeah,
but-
I saw a really great interview on him and with him, and he was, I thought, oh, thank God, he is more mature than I thought.
Oh yeah. he
I
definitely
mean, that
is.
makes me happy because he is really young.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I thought, okay, if you've only been doing this 5 or 6 years, you're in the party mode, but he's not.
No,
He's had some good mentors.
For sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, some good experiences and stuff. But this is more about you. So I do
Oh
got to
my
tell you
God.
something that my wife said to me before she left today.
Uh-oh.
She goes, "Listen, you tell Susan that bathroom by the studio is the same one our kids use. So anything she finds in those cupboards, it's the kids. It's not ours."
There's a rubber ducky in there. I like the rubber duckies. No, that's very cute. I'll try to just pee on the floor in here. I don't worry about the bathroom. No, I'm fine.
It's fine. We don't have a cleanup crew yet, so I'll just let Brad do it.
Right.
Right. So you haven't seen my gauges bit yet, have you?
No, I have not.
You have to take a look at that.
So I'm not like I don't do like research and stuff like Brad does.
Uh-huh.
So when he was like, yeah, we're gonna have a comedian named Susan coming on to our podcast
Uh-huh.
if we want to start doing that, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like I love comedians. I love watching comedians. There's just anything that just makes me laugh makes me happy.
Good.
And so I know.
Nothing about me.
No, I watched.
Perfect.
So last night I watched a couple of videos of your stand-ups last night, and I was laughing. Like even my wife was like, "She is fucking funny."
Oh, you should have told the people in Cave Junction last night.
And I was okay.
No,
to be
they were
honest, Cave Junction is.
No, they were fine. I'm teasing.
They're great. They're great people
Yeah.
out there, but sometimes it's a little
It was
out there.
it was an older crowd. It was fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you watched some of my you didn't because I'm teasing you about your gauges.
Yeah,
and
which
your-
is fine. Like I get a lot more. I'm not gonna say hate, but a lot more people are like, I think I'm a weirdo, which is fine. I don't care.
Really?
I don't
Here?
care at all.
Yeah. I mean,
Which
because
is-
this used to be the hippie capital of the world. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, and
Grants
that's
Pass. I mean, it was like there was bikers and hippies, and that was pretty much it.
yep. And
Yeah.
now it's all sorts of people.
Oh yeah.
I won't
Just
get
ask
into
the
that, but-
Supreme Court. Anyway, Jesus, Joseph.
but so since I don't know a whole lot about you,
Yeah.
And I've always kind of been curious of like how'd you start? Like how did you just go up to a stage one day like, hey, I'm a comedian,
No.
or was it like you did like something small and it just kind of turned into like a big thing?
I mentioned earlier, I trained as a professional actress
Mhm.
and went to college and had a in San Diego. At that time it was the second. It was the American Academy, and then it was USOU Performing Arts Center, and I went to the Performing Arts Center in San Diego. But I had trained with a really wonderful director prior to that, 2 years of that. So I was an actress for 9 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a problem with punching up people's lines that people didn't like, especially Shakespeare. Anyway, so at the time I was playing just somebody's grandmother, and I was at that time I was in my 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always playing the older lady or the Duchess or this kind of stuff, and it was like, I don't want to do this all the time. This is fine. In Portland, the Portland theater scene was really weak, and I had to come back to that area because of my dad and stuff. So I just decided to write a one-woman show.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was a great gal in Portland doing a cabaret show and making a ton of money, and she was wonderful, and it was character-driven.
Mm-hmm.
And it was prior to SNL, so SNL wasn't on yet. And so it was, I'd seen her perform several times and went, oh my God. Then there was a comedy show that a friend brought me to and there was in Portland at this great venue, and I saw an amazing comedian from Seattle by the name of Peggy Platt, and Peggy was a big gal, and I was a big gal, and she walked out on stage, and she had Glinda, the witch of the good witch.
Mm-hmm.
She had the damn crown on, and she was carrying this wand, and she was amazing, and I thought, and she was a great comic, and I went, I could do that. And then I found the open mic, and I thought, well, let me go work some material at this open mic to see if what I've written is funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I stepped on stage, and I never produced the one woman show.
That's amazing.
I just became a stand-up. I knew that this was okay. This is it.
Yeah.
This is where it is. And I had been all these years, a comedy aficionado like you. I had been cut my funny bone on Jonathan Winters and Toady Fields and Richard Pryor and George Carlin, and I mean even Bill Cosby. We all memorized his albums. Bob Newhart.
Mm-hmm.
My mother would get me out of bed to watch, and this is prior to Steve Allen. So I was very small.
Yeah.
And then on the Tonight Show, and then Jack Parr, and he. If anybody has never seen Jonathan Winters on the Jack Parr Tonight Show doing a 10-minute bit on a stick that he's holding, you have not lived. You need to go Google that and
We'll put a clip of
It
it
is
in post.
absolutely the most brilliant thing you have ever seen in your life. Jonathan went into mod for years. He had a little problem with that, but he was an amazing, amazing guy. And I just, so that never registered until I stepped on stage. But I was always playing the comic role in theaters. So that is a really long answer. Sorry.
It's totally
No,
fine.
it's actually it's a great answer because it's a question I was going to ask too. Because I know you well, I've seen in your other stuff you said you got your start in like '83, but that happened pretty quick for you. You said you quit your job in '85.
I did, and I was. It was a mutual thing. I worked for a bank. They were happy to see me go, but that's what I feel bad about the kids now. It's they have to work. Living is so ridiculous, and they have to work 2 jobs
Mm-hmm.
and live with 3 people just to be able to have a place indoors to live.
Right. Yeah. It's
Grants
tough out there.
Pass. Anyway, it's very expensive, and we have to fix that. And there isn't the road like it used to be. There isn't these runs that they can go out and hone their craft on. I know guys that are just brilliant, but they don't have an hour yet. And
Right.
they've been in the business 8 years
Yeah.
because there's no place for them to do it.
Right. Yeah. You have to be able to get up there, work your set out. That's just the restriction
It's just like
I was talking
anything
about for
else.
myself earlier. Is that
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I worked out. This is back when I was like 19. I worked out like a 20-minute bit, thinking like this is just gonna kill. I'm basing it off of Carlin and Murphy and like, all my influences at the time.
Sure, yeah.
And then I went up and performed, and I didn't think about this when I was writing it, but the material I was writing was all stuff that adults would get. And I performed at a high school.
Oh, yeah.
So I
yeah.
just bombed so
Yeah.
hard. And I was like, well, you know what? That's a learning experience. But
It is, and
if
it's
you
hard.
can't work your material out, you don't know what you're doing.
Right, and when you're only getting 5 and 10 minute slots, it's really hard to be consistent and to learn how to flow.
Right.
And go from one premise to the next premise to the next premise. It's just, and I do a seminar that's been really successful helping, and I want to work with just only. We've done it 3 times now. I want to work with working comics that have been in it for at least 3 years.
Gotcha.
I'd like it to be 5, but 3's fine
Mm-hmm.
because I want to separate the ones that have the fire in their belly. They're going to show up and listen because
Right.
we're not going to talk about material. We're not talking. I'm not gonna monitor people's material, but I'm gonna tell them about the business and how you do it, and what you have to get that. You
Right.
get those spots.
Yeah.
And we have and then we have 2 or 3 other younger comics who are very successful on Instagram and Hulu and not Hulu, but TikTok, and I mean they know social media really well and how to promote yourself, and that's I mean it's really a great seminar, and I feel bad, you guys. I know you're getting ready. All this stuff is. You've got to be on top of it, and it's exhausting for you.
Oh yeah.
You don't have time to sit back and contemplate and think, well, let's change this and let's change that. You got to be ready to go.
Right.
And that's really hard, and it's really hard on the craft.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it is really hard on the craft. So
Like,
go ahead.
and like with us, starting this whole production of our podcasts and me doing other things on the side, you're right, it's exhausting.
And
But
it's time consuming, and
Very.
you
but
have to have
it's-
very good
Yeah,
partners.
yeah, and it's, we're very lucky that we're able to do this and actually getting all this finally started.
Well, you're doing,
really do it.
you're doing your due diligence. A lot of people just jump the hell in. We just jumped the hell in when we did ours,
Yeah.
and we didn't know anything. It's a bunch of old people trying to learn shit, and it was to my dearest friend who's started. We were roommates together when we started stand up, and we started a week apart.
Yeah.
And Art Krug, and he is always, without a doubt, the funniest man at the table. Always.
Yeah.
I mean, he just drops the room
Yeah.
just with one phrase. He's brilliant. But yes, it's hard. I've been very lucky that the younger people have embraced me and allowed me to be part of their scene. It's not my scene anymore. You know, it's not, I can't, people call me up and go, why can't you do that? It's not my scene. They rule the roost now. This is their time. I turned down Don't Tell
Right.
when I first got offered it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because Brent Lowry, who won the Seattle Laugh-Off, he books the Don't Tell shows in Portland, and then they had contacted him and said, we're going to do some more taping. Is there anybody that you want to put forward and have us see their tape? And he texted me and asked me if I would mind if he grabbed a tape off my YouTube and submitted it. And I said, no, don't do it.
Right.
And he was like, why? And I said, it's not my time. It's your time. This is time for you guys to build your following. It's your time to shine. It's your time to move into this zone now, And he said, just let me send it to him. I said, I'm too old for the show.
Yeah, but you were wrong.
They were
That
not.
set killed.
They're not going to. Yeah, but it's. I was and I wasn't wrong. I was wrong in the fact that people were very gracious, but and people are very kind on their comments, and I believe it's heartfelt and I appreciate it. But you understand that it's I brought along a lot of comics in my life,
Yeah.
and I'm protective of them, And if I know that they have the fire in their belly and they want it, they have no idea how much they're going to sacrifice.
Right.
And it can be a marriage. If it's a woman, you have to decide.
Right.
You have to decide if there's going to be kids. You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bigger picture than people know, and it's a bigger sacrifice. So, but it was very fun. It was a horrible weather, but and 25 stairs up to the damn venue.
Well, that's part of what made it so great,
It's
though.
an
That's
it's-
got the best opening line of almost any comedy set I've ever heard, which
It's
is
a-
just you going, "I'm glad I made it up those fucking stairs."
Well, because I mean, it's I found out I have to do my reconnaissance now because I have a bad knee. I had 2 bad knees at that time. I now only have 1. Now I have the other one done. But I called the venue when I found out what the venue was. I said, so, how many do you guys have? Elevators? Is there stairs? Because it's an event where people have wedding receptions there.
Oh.
And it was in this, if I say a warehouse mall, do you understand what I'm saying? Where people rent these big and they put their surplus stuff in their stores there.
Right.
It's not open to retail. It's just
Right.
it's just warehouses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what this was. And they had no service elevator at all.
Oh, geez.
There was 25 steps, and I was like, and it was raining cats and dogs, and we finally got there. I was like, oh my God. And then there was 25 steps, very steep steps, like up like this. I was going, okay. So I get up there, and I thought, I can't bitch about this. They schlepped all their equipment up to the.
I didn't even think of that.
All their equipment, these big, huge, those the cases and everything else with all the cameras and all the sound equipment and all the boards and all this. Thinking, okay, Susan, you can't bitch about this. They had to schlep all this stuff up, and then I thought, they're 22. So anyway, but yeah, it was that was a fun evening. I was up against. I mean, I wasn't up against anything. There was amazing comics. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
blow your mind comics. I was like, I had to follow, Stuart. What's his name? Anyway, he was so funny. I should have remembered his name. I'm so sorry. And he was just brilliant. And
Stuart, we don't know your name yet, but we'll put a link in to your video.
oh yeah, he's no, I don't say Stuart because I'm not sure there was another one, Drew, and I'm like, oh my God. All I know is Kyle Kinane was on the show with me.
Oh, I love Kyle. He's
And
funny.
Kyle is like, okay, shoot. He puts out a special every week. He's amazing. But I was surprised. And a little side note, I was getting ready to go on stage, and I was nervous because I knew that I literally was the oldest person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I looked over, and I did see some people in their 50s. And I thought, okay, well, that's something.
Yeah.
And but mostly 20s, Gen Zs,
Yeah.
and whatever else is below that. I was walking up to the stage. They introduced me, and I heard this young woman sitting next to me go, "Oh my God!"
Mm.
And I went, and that's when
Mhm.
that's when the bitch kicked in. I went, all right,
Love it.
bitch, watch this. And that's probably what saved my life because I was nervous. But when I heard that, I went, oh,
Yeah, that
fuck
part of
you.
your brain takes over, and you
Fuck
go, "I'm
you.
gonna crush this."
Yeah, give me a break. I did 10 minutes in my sleep. Give me a break.
Yeah, and you did. You came right up and I mean,
Well, it was a lot of fun.
I
It
actually
turned out
got
really
that
well.
wrong. You start with the AARP joke, and
Yeah.
then the stairs.
Well, and that was
But-
written just as I was walking up to the stage.
It felt like it was off the cuff. Off the cuff.
I said to my friend who came, and my dear friend, we were comics together in Portland, and she married a comedian. She was a comedian for many, many years. And I said, I'm going to start with this. And she goes, Susie, you do this every time. Do not open with something new you've never tried. And I said, you're right. I won't do it. And then I heard that, and I went, well, here we go.
Well, and I think it worked really well for the audience that was there because they knew they were at the Don't Tell show.
Right.
Like my wife isn't a big comedy person, so when I showed her that clip, she goes, "I don't get it." I go, "The show's called Don't Tell. And the AARP joke is just for her." And
Right.
that's when my wife got it.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah,
if
yeah.
you didn't know what that was as an
Right,
audience, that'd
yeah.
be a tough one. But
Yeah.
they all in the audience, they knew what show they were
Yeah,
at.
yeah, don't tell. Yeah, and I am the oldest person. I mean, Andy Huggins did do one, I guess. He did one, and then he got his Prime special
Oh, cool.
on Amazon. And Andy, I thought Andy was older than me, but he might not be. I'm 72. He might be 70. But he was a Houston comic. It's nice to see names that I recognize.
Right. Yes. That's always.
And still hold grudges against. So
Well, that's actually something I was gonna. So I actually was already gonna ask you about, but I didn't know about you. Were doing like a program I was gonna say I already knew you've like helped and mentored people, but I didn't know you had like a program. Is that something you're like, just-
seminar?
yeah. So you're doing that just with people you meet in person, or is there some place? people
Well,
can
it
sign
used to
up
be
for it?
if you asked for a ride, you're going to get a comedy lesson. I mean, it got to be the point where I'm changing comedy one person at a time in my car because none of these kids had cars. That's
Right.
the thing is that your generation first it costs a lot of money to run a car and
And Portland's a whole different.
oh
with the
whole
public
different than here.
transportation and stuff.
oh
it's
yeah,
like-
a studio apartment is going to run you $1,300-$1,400 a month, and that's a crappy one. That's a 400-footer.
right.
So yeah, it was difficult for them, and so they would want to take these gigs, but then they'd have to find the ride,
Right.
and so it used to be the opener always schlepped the headliners, which I've never done that. I was an opener and I schlepped the headliners. I was a feature and I schlepped the headliners, and now I'm a headliner and I'm still schlepping the openers and the features. But it's fine. It's fine, But a couple comics and I that are really great comics, Tyler Bowe and Andrew Slater. We were having coffee one day, and I had this idea to have a seminar. And they're much younger than I, and they're both very. And if anybody has, go watch Andrew Slater's James Corden. It's the best television set you've ever seen in your life. Oh my God, it was great. But we were both bitching about the same thing, about the fact that these guys are doing open mics on Fridays and Saturday nights, that this scene is floundering and nobody's getting paid, and if I see one more goddamn ball cap on stage, I'm going to just rip the shit out of that. It's just I get tired of it. Your face is this is your palette.
Right.
They got to be able to see you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were laughing, and then I thought it's time for a seminar, and so I said I'll be the bitch, and you guys I'll be the bad cop, and you guys be the good cops, and so, and they brought so much information. Andrew does his own. He books and manages all his own theater shows,
Oh wow.
and he can teach these kids how to
do it.
produce their own shows and Tyler works ships, and he does a lot of corporate gigs, and I do a lot of corporate gigs, and they were like, I go, you want to be doing dick jokes into
Your whole life?
into your 50s? Fine, rock on, but just know that you're going to have a day job, 2 or 3 day jobs.
Right. Yeah.
There's money in corporate comedy.
Yeah.
And there's money in being clean. If you want to write a dirty joke, fine, then write the same joke that you can do in front of a corporate group.
That's smart.
It's just you're taking on, this is a business.
Right. Yeah. You have to be your
it's
own
not
boss
just a
and
craft.
an entrepreneur and a
Yeah.
manager and a scheduler and
Yeah.
There's
So
a lot.
yeah, I'm 41 years and several months in,
hmm
and I just signed with a manager for the first time.
Wow.
It was only because I wasn't able to. I don't have the wheelhouse of negotiating contracts,
Gotcha. Yeah.
and so I.
And you got to
she's-
get paid.
And she's wonderful. Just a joke. I signed with her. She was recommended to me by a wonderful comedian, Susan Jones, and she's out of LA. This gal is out of LA, and so we met. And she's 78, and I'm 72. And she said we're going to sign a 3-year contract. And I said, that's really ambitious. Really, really optimistic here. One of us is going down. So, and she laughed. She goes, well, if that happens, it's all null and void. But anyway, but she's a great, and she's really good at what she does. Very good at what she does. So I was very lucky. But yeah, you have to know the business end of anything. Just like you guys have to know the business end of podcasting.
Right.
How to monetize. And because you're not going to do all this work and not make it pay off.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You're
That's
not
a
in
huge
it
piece
just
of
to
it.
be talking into a mic.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So,
it's not a hobby. It's going to be You
It's
know,
a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, and
It's
it's your job.
Yeah, it's a career.
It's a career. Yeah, good for you. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback. I did one in Seattle with Brad Upton
Oh,
and Corey Michaelis, and both of them have off the chart dry bars.
right.
And Brad's especially. Brad is 4 years younger than me, and he blew up.
Well, I saw his
In
dry
his
bar.
early
I saw
60s.
his dry bar. It was very funny.
Oh, he's very funny,
Yeah.
and he's very he's a wonderful, and he's one. But I mean, we've been in the business almost. He joined. He got in '84, so yeah, and he blew up. He was always opening for Johnny Mathis. I mean, he's done well for like 20 years, 20, 25 years. He's been doing pretty, but then he just blew the hell up.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between that. Like you could be just
Right.
working, but then when you blow up, that's a whole.
I mean,
nother
I'd
world.
love to open for somebody I really admire. Johnny Mathis is 87 years old, and he's still singing.
That's crazy.
I mean, he's still selling out venues.
right? Yeah.
87 years old,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
and that's.
Awesome.
I mean, and Brad loves him. I mean, they're buds,
Right,
because they were
yeah.
both. He ran track, but anyway, so yeah, you have to learn the business. You just have to learn it
Yeah.
if you want it. So
That's actually something we were talking about before. Was that with any business, because one of the other people that we're reviewing is the artist, the rapper, Tom McDonald. He makes music. And he dropped a new video today, so we were doing a review of
Exciting.
that video, and it's all about like the everyday people, like your janitors, your firefighters, So we were just talking about
That's
every
great.
industry is like that, where you have to commit to it and do it, even if it's not a glamorous job.
And yeah, it's not. And the thing about being an entertainer, that 45 to an hour that you're on stage, that's the sweet spot.
Right.
That's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
It's the other 10, 15, 20 hours you're putting in off stage.
Exactly.
It's the drive times. It's the it's on the phone. It's on the texts. It's on the emails. It's on the,
And it's going to the open mics to work out the material, to find the new tag.
Yeah, it is. I avoid those like crazy now, but I'm just not good at that. But but you have to have if you're going to use your time, you better use your time well, especially with material. I did 3 new pieces last night. And you do them. You have a pattern. Each comic has a different pattern, and how long they'll keep a new piece before they throw it out.
Yeah.
And they don't always throw it out. It sometimes comes back in a new piece.
Right.
But I mean, there's all
Recycles. and
yeah,
goes
it's
through
just
and-
it's and keeping all that straight. And at my age, it's very hard to keep it all straight. I can't remember names, for God's sakes. I am trying to think of that comic that I was going to tell you that had such a hard time, but he was a wonderful comic and he killed himself. Anyway, oh my God, he was a one-liner.
Yeah.
Mitch Hedberg.
Oh, actually, I was going to bring him up earlier too.
Yeah, Mitch Hedberg. Yes,
Because you had mentioned
brilliant.
You had mentioned that he was like punchline. Somebody else you had mentioned was
He was-
punchline.
Yeah, he went. Yeah, set up
And-
punchline, set up punchline, and he was a word master.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. I loved Hedberg way back in the day.
he was and sweet and kind, and even when he was starting to hit, he was still washing dishes.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, he never understood that he was actually, no, Mitch, you're in demand now.
Yeah, he didn't
you don't
get
have
to
to
that-
do,
that
you don't have to do
realization,
that. Yeah. And he was a sweetheart of a man.
Yeah.
And it was very sad. But
So you got to know him personally.
I only worked with Mitch twice.
Oh, okay.
But he was from the Pacific Northwest. I was living in L.A. Then when he was making it in Seattle. He was coming out of Seattle.
Right.
And he was originally out of someplace else. He had Texas. I think he was out of Texas.
I think you're right about that.
And maybe Austin, I don't know, but which has a thriving community. But yeah, he was. It was a very sweet man, and he would there was nights the audience just look at him.
Yeah.
Because he was weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Emo
I loved
Phillips.
when he would like sit down on the stage or whatever, like just lay on the stairs. He's-
And I had worked with people. Paula Poundstone and was and is to this day probably one of the most brilliant minds in comedy. But Paula, at a very early age, she'd had a horrible upbringing to some extent, and she came out through San Francisco, and she was one of the headliners that came into Portland when John Fox opened.
Oh, okay.
One Main Place in Portland in '84, and I begged to open for her. I begged, and they finally gave me an MC spot. I was like, oh, thank you. And she was so shut down emotionally that she would have to take a line of Coke, a couple lines of Coke, just to be able to talk.
Oh, geez.
And she would put her head on the bar, and then it was showtime, and she went up, and you've never seen brilliance like this. To
It
this
just
day,
opens up out of her.
to this day. I mean, she's very sweet. She always remembers me. Because I schlepped her and another brilliant comic on a Monday night. We went to Springfield after the week that we did, and she got my Volkswagen, and she laid down in the back seat and put her feet up on the ceiling of and we started talking, and I was with Kurt Weldon was the other act, and he's like Mensa smart, really scary smart. And he started a conversation, and Paula joined in with song lyrics
Oh, weird. That's cool.
and never once repeated herself. I had to stop on the freeway twice because I was going to wet myself laughing. I couldn't. It was a moment of absolute brilliance.
Right.
And I just looked at him, and he goes, I know. I said, okay. And so we get in the car, and he would start another subject, and Paula would and it was a new lyric. She would make her point with lyrics.
That's cool.
That's
That's very
funny.
cool.
It's phenomenal,
Yeah.
you know, and she was, and she is to this day. I mean, she's not a drug addict, obviously, anymore, but she has kids and dogs and stuff. She's just wonderful, but she was and is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the people that I came up with,
Yeah.
that I got to watch.
That's fun in the sense that that you still get to know those people too. I think that's really
Well, yeah, that's what there was so much dysfunction. I mean, there was a lot of people that were in pain that came to comedy.
right. Oh yeah, that's Neil Brennan has that whole Blocks thing where it's just every comedian you can imagine coming on and telling their story, and every time you're like, holy crap, I can't believe this is happening.
And this is happening again
Right.
because
We didn't invent this. It's
no,
still
we didn't,
happening
no,
over and over again.
And but I also had to put my foot down when I'm on a show, and they put 6 comics in front of me, and every single one of them has to come up and identify their sexuality immediately.
Right. It's
Like nobody fucking cares. Okay, just be funny. That's your job.
right.
Be a comedian.
And boy, you're going to get some hate mail on this because I'm not. I've had enough experience to go. Okay, times what? Thousands.
Right.
Okay, the audience gets tired of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They, and they don't. If you're gonna, every single comic one night talked about their sexual identity and that struggles, and then told their story how they came out, and that's fine. None of it was funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And then talked about their methed out parents.
Right.
And my heart is breaking because I'm an empath, but I was like, down the line is like, Jesus God.
We got to get to the comedy part of this.
Are we in AA or something? I mean, what's going on? I mean, this is not therapy. You got to.
Right. Well, it's a new, and it's something I'm not a fan of either. So we'll take all the hate mail we can get over it. The new thing is it's clapter instead of laughter.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's exactly what it is. And we used to get mad when the Janine Garofalo's and Brian Posens and who's the he's so funny, Anyway, those guys were coming up, and they called it alternative comedy. It was alt comedy.
Yeah,
And you kind of
alt-comedy.
go, well, the alternative to comedy is tragedy. What the fuck?
Right.
You know, let's go. Where's the punchlines? What's the punchlines? You know, and Janine Garofalo, and they would just ramble on about stuff like that, and it was like, okay, you know. Eventually, they understood, and they were starting to make it funny.
Right,
I mean, it was,
yeah.
you know, it was funny, it was poignant, and that's when the storytelling came in.
Right.
Storytelling came back with alt comedy,
Right.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I love storytelling
Yes.
jokes.
Yeah,
and-
it's a good thing. The craft was too hard for a setup punchline for a lot of people.
Right. Oh yeah, that is such a tough thing to do, especially because I mean there's only a finite number of setup punchlines out there. You know what I mean? Before you have to start getting creative and like
Well, this is a touchy-feely world now,
right. Yeah.
and they want
Right.
to connect with you.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
they
exactly.
do. And they had one of the things that has always happened to me over the years that I never really realized until I got older is that people didn't want to shake my hand. They wanted a hug.
Right.
They always want a hug. And, you know, COVID made that clear. After COVID, they'd come up and I go, I'd love to hug you, but I think that's probably not a good idea,
Right.
you know, because I would mask up right up. I mean, I was not performing during COVID. I went 14 and a half months. And I would only do outdoor venues and that kind of stuff. But, and that's, you know, it was always that way though. And I realized I'm that relative that they identify with, that their parents used to whisper about in the kitchen, but everybody wanted to sit next to because I had all the stories,
Right. Yeah.
you know, and that's that appeal.
Yeah. That's definitely part of the appeal. That's part of why like I was a fan before. Cause,
That's very sweet.
I
didn't
love
know.
hearing those
I didn't know
kinds
that
of
was the
stories.
appeal
and-
until I got told.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Like
Oh, that's very sweet. Thanks.
And my grandmother
Yeah.
is one of those people that like when she introduces herself to people, she goes like, "I'm the bitch of the family." You know what I mean? And like, and in reality, she's not. She's just hilarious, and she doesn't take shit from anybody. But yeah, so we've.
Yeah.
I mean, where she's not working anymore, but she was a cleaning lady for an RV place for years. And
Oh, God, love her. Yeah.
they
you
gave
know,
her a award every year, Bitch of the Year award. and, like,
absolutely. You know,
and she's the kind of person that at dinner, that's who I want to sit by because it's even the under
It's
the
a-
breath one.
oh, I know. It's fun. And it's, you know, and we learn our humor from our family.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely. It's
you know, I hope you sit down with your kids and have dinner,
Oh yeah.
you know, because I'm telling you, there's not a comic in the world that can hold a candle to my mother.
right. Yeah.
My mother could drop a room with a look. And I saw her do it more than once.
Yeah.
And she was a 50s mother, 40s and 50s mother who was brilliant, but not permitted to work.
right.
Nor could she have her money in her own account. Nor could she have any kind of credit card. And those kind of things.
Right.
And she raised, my sister was incredibly independent, and she insisted on it,
Yeah.
you know, and they didn't know what to do with me, but was the
But she
good-
obviously gave you some independent strength
Well,
too. I mean, you're
I-
dominating in a male-dominated world.
We
you
had
know?
a whole. Well, I 41 years later, you know, they're just hoping I die. But the deal is that when I work the places now with the younger crowd, I don't get nervous anymore.
right.
You know, I know that there's haters out there, and I know that there's people that think I'm too old. You know, there was some comments on my Don't Tell, a couple comments. Most of them were, 99.9% of them were absolutely phenomenal.
Right.
But there was those out there going, this bitch is too old. Get off the stage. You're not funny. That kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't appeal to everybody, but I got a pretty good track record.
Yeah. No.
Because I'm not afraid of the young ones anymore.
Right.
Because I'm somebody that if they didn't have a grandmother like me, they want one.
Right. Yes. No. That's exactly what the appeal is. Right there. Is
so.
That, I mean, I'm lucky enough that that's how my grandmother is, and it's
Well, I'm gonna cash in on that bullshit. So I'm. No.
Speaking of which, you're performing tonight and tomorrow night at the pub. We're coming tonight.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, we just worked it out with Nikki this morning, so we're gonna be there tonight.
Oh, great! Oh gosh! Oh, now I'm nervous.
Oh, don't, you just said you don't get nervous anymore.
I don't get yeah, but I'm sitting there flapping my gums, going, "Well, I'm just this and that and everything." Well, okay, great.
We won't say anything.
Now I gotta bring it. Now I gotta bring it. I'm like, oh my god! Yeah. Well, thanks. I hope it's. I hope we have some people in there.
And so I do want to, because the point of this show is to help promote, get people's, whatever project they're working on out there. Is there anything you'd like this mentor program? Do you want to promote that, or not mentor, seminar program?
Seminars. Yeah, we don't have one scheduled for the fall. We'll probably do another one in Seattle or Portland this fall, probably, October. That's comedy season. It starts in September and it runs through,
right,
pretty much May. Yeah, we'll do another comedy seminar. It's called I Heart Comedy. It's easy. There'll be events. Yes, I Heart Comedy, and I always invite really, really great, successful comedians to come on and give as much information as they can. We still haven't talked on taxes. We gotta hit on that. But
that's a whole nother.
Yeah, it is. But it's really important to know this stuff because there's been so many comedians that have got dinged because they haven't, or they've lied, or they haven't claimed what, and they have to know what they're looking for.
Right.
You have to know what the feds are looking for to
Right.
claim. Otherwise, you can get caught.
Exactly.
And because it's not the comics that gets caught, it's the bookers.
Right.
That are the companies that are hiring.
I don't know why I'm saying right. Like I know anything about what it's like.
But
for a stand-up
they're
comedian.
looking at corporate first.
Right.
So if you're working for a major comedy club, they're gonna, that's that they're
Right,
up they're up for audit. I mean that they're in the zone. So, but comics get caught that way by not claiming stuff, and they also don't know what to claim. So that's another thing. We're truckers.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, we're truckers.
Independent contractor, self-employed.
And we take our mileage. We take all this stuff. So yeah, we'll do that, and then I have possibly some other stuff that's coming up. Can I plug my social media?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, it's Instagram is Funny Old Bag is my handle, and it's also on TikTok, and on Facebook. I'm trying to change it over, but right now it's either Susan Rice with my bag logo,
Gotcha.
or it's Susan Rice Comedy with a side dish, and that's where I post. I also have a website which has my calendar up to date. I'm very diligent about my calendar up to date. That's SusanRiceComedy.com.
And we'll put links to all this stuff.
Oh, God, love you. There's some things in the works. I'm doing, this isn't going up for a while. I have a big show in August that I'm doing.
This will be going on July 27th. So
August 3rd and 4th, I will be at the Prune Yard Cinema in Campbell, California, which is 20 minutes out of San Jose. And it's for the Alameda Comedy Club. And there's a ticket link on my websites and on my social. And it's we're going to be doing 3 shows. And I'm really excited about that one.
Very
and
cool.
Then the AGT. I had a great set, and I got passed through, but there's only 55 slots for over 200 people that they pass through. And I was just notified the end of June that I was not going to be making it to the live shows, which is fine. But also, it kind of means that I'm probably not going to show my audition piece. But we still have 3 or 4 weeks of auditions on AGT right now.
Oh, very cool.
So that might show. But I've been down this road with them before.
I
Yeah.
need to take a quick restroom break.
Glad you're potty trained.
Use a diaper.
Yeah.
So, and your babies are how old? Do you have little kids?
I do. I have a beautiful daughter. She has just turned 2 at the end of
Oh
June.
my God, how
She
cute!
She's my little world, and
Oh my goodness.
you know, this is why I'm doing this, to make, how do I say it politely, get away from 9-to-5 jobs.
Well, that's not polite. That's
I mean,
smart. If you can,
it's-
you can be able to have time with her.
Yeah, I want to have time, as much time as I can with her.
Mhm.
I'm 29.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still young, so I have all of this time that I want her to have a better life than I did growing up, and that's my
Sure.
main goal.
Yeah.
You know, and she's my little world.
That's so sweet. Oh, that's
uh,
wonderful.
You know, I finally had a chance to get to do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, since I've been a kid, since I was like 17, 18, I've always watched YouTube and Twitch and all these other people that
Yeah.
are fully successful now. Like you. Like you were successful.
41 years.
Yeah.
41
And
years. It took me
it's
41 years.
amazing. Yeah. And it's amazing to see all of these creators and comedians and people who have just successful. And it's like, you know what? That's where I want to be. You know, that's my goal, you know, is being successful, you know, later down the road.
Good for you.
And, you know, it might not be for 2-3 years, but at least now,
We got to try. I mean, you have to
Exactly.
start somewhere. It's the
Yeah.
first, it's the, a journey begins with the first step.
Yeah.
So there you go.
yeah, and right
Let's
now
talk about
it's-
this 100 pounds. That's wonderful. That I'm glad you're doing this and you're following your dream. That's what I love that about your generation. Your generation will redefine the workplace.
Yeah.
You already have in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I've worked so many jobs. Like I've worked a lot of jobs, I've been let go from a lot of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I've done everything. Like I've worked warehouse, car sales, phone sales. Like I
Everything.
have all the tech that I need.
Right.
So it's, you know, after going down the road of when I started working when I was 16
Mm-hmm.
up to now, it's draining. Like it's, you know,
Well, it doesn't feed your soul.
No, and it doesn't feel like, you know
You know.
what, this company's, I'm going to be successful. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like when I go into a job, it's like, oh, well, you know, I'll make a 9-to-5 paycheck. Now it's like, you know, I don't know what clicked, but something clicked in my head. It's like, you know what, I need to do something
She's
better.
2.
She's 2.
That's
And I think
that's
that's
what
what it
clicked.
is.
That's what clicked.
Yeah, and
You know, and that's the beauty of having all that experience behind you.
Mhm.
Because once you know what you don't want, it makes
Find
when
what you do.
something you find that you
Yeah.
go, oh, I do want this.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is something I do want.
And I'm a big nerd. So I love,
There you
like,
go.
I love video games, comics, you know, I
There you
grew
go.
up on all of this.
That's great.
And so now, you know, now I'm actually like live streaming games and stuff. So I'm doing that too while I'm doing this.
Right.
And
She
if
takes a
I'm-
nap, but you're that's to
Oh, yeah,
slow
that
down.
nap.
Once she's not taking naps, you're gonna be up.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna be.
Which there's been, you know, there's been a couple times where like I don't have a lot of followers or anything yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
And it's actually like the time that I've been streaming like video games and talking with people.
I'm telling you.
Within a week I've had, like I said, not a lot.
It's
but
okay.
like 26 people,
Yeah, that's fine.
and it's like
And then they tell their friends,
Yeah.
and then they tell their friends,
it's-
and they, it's that's how it
growing,
works.
and
Yeah.
it's like, you know, I'm happy about it. It's like, wow, I'm actually I'm actually doing something. Like people are actually watching, enjoying what I'm doing.
It
it's-
feels good, doesn't it?
It feels good. Like
Yeah.
it's like I'm actually making people. I'm hopefully making people smile. And
Well,
you
you're
know,
connecting with people you don't know
exactly.
in a form that you feel comfortable in.
Mhm.
And that's that's when you know, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And this is how I live, and this is that feeds your soul. Your generation is looking to do what they want. I mean, what gives them joy,
Mhm.
because they watch their parents, they watch their dads die
Right.
of a heart attack at
Yeah.
57.
Yeah.
They watch the struggle, and all the other stuff that goes with it, and you have your wild years, and then if you're lucky, you find a person that you want to be better for.
Right.
Yeah.
And
hopefully, even if it's not, you find somebody, you find yourself going, I need to be the person I'm supposed to be.
Mhm.
And then there's the striving, and then there's the recognition. And I think it's a great thing, and I think you're going to teach. The boomers they can't shove your generation aside, because your generation is going to save so many of us.
Yeah.
In the fact that you will vote,
Mm-hmm.
and you will stand up,
Mhm.
and you will fight for your future, because you have to.
It's
You have to
Yeah.
now.
yeah,
It's not
it's
easy.
rough.
It's not easy anymore. The choices are becoming very, very slim.
Mhm.
So if you want your daughter to have body autonomy,
Mhm.
you're going to have to stand up.
Yeah.
And I'm counting on your generation. I'm really counting on your generation to and yeah, this is political, and we didn't
It's
probably
okay.
want
It's
it to
okay,
get
yeah.
that way, but I'm just saying, I have comic friends that come out and try to show how stupid you are.
Mhm.
Well, your education has fucking sucked.
I barely graduated high school.
It has fallen through the cracks in this country.
It has.
And the fact that you don't know history or facts about certain things, and it's, yes, some of it's your fault,
Mhm.
but
Absolutely.
you also, you didn't have a parent sitting at the table probably with you at night going, this is how it's done, because the parents were as confused about the curriculum as you were.
Yeah.
I mean, there's there's a lot of when Kimmel does that stuff on the street,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it shocks you. They can't name a president on money.
Mhm.
Right.
They this guy, and they don't know the president's names and stuff like that, and you kind of go, oh my god. And then and I thought, this is showing us
Well,
that
doesn't kill me as much as when, and you're right. I don't mean to go too political.
No,
That
we're not
doesn't
gonna
kill
get
me as much
no,
as like they don't know a president's name. Okay, trivia. Maybe you're not good at trivia, but then they don't know like what the Second Amendment is or the Fourth Amendment or
it's
and
not
it's like,
not taught. History is, I mean, World War II was a whole year for us.
Yeah.
Because our fathers fought it.
right.
Okay. World War II now, you're lucky if you get 3 days.
Yeah.
In a history class.
Yeah.
And it's repeating itself now, and it needs to be taught.
Mhm.
But the deal is, you are going to show us a different side. I call you star children, because there's these. You're just not going to be caught in that rut. You're not going to go there.
Yeah.
You
and I've
know?
got, there's a lot of people my age who are, who grew up with not so good of a childhood.
Right.
you know,
There's a lot.
And people, who grew up in like the 95 era that I did,
Mm-hmm.
now, at least now they know, how life can be without,
A support
with
group?
like hitting rock bottom to,
Yeah.
To now.
Right. And not having the support of healthy parents.
Yeah.
Or healthy siblings.
Mm-hmm.
You're all having to find your own way.
Yeah. I am
And-
very lucky. I still got my parents, but everybody in my life, we've
I do
We've-
too. They're
we've
in the
had
car.
We've had a rough start.
I
That's
no, it is hard, and that's why I can't get behind a lot of the generation bashing, because you guys, I remember being, sitting on the floor in front 2 feet from the TV set watching the Beatles on Ed Sullivan
mhm.
and hearing my father go, "Look at that goddamn hair." Mr. Crew Cut, calm down.
Yeah.
And my father was a musician, and he had to admit, granted, it was all 3 chord. They're the
Right.
3-4 chord geniuses, but down the line,
Yeah.
Rubber Soul came out, and my dad started listening.
Right.
And then then there was others, and it's like, by 1971 my dad was on board, and they learned, but it was, you're going to teach us, is what I'm saying. You're going to teach us, and I love that, because I think the more my generation, if you were to ask them regrets, there would be more than there should be.
Mhm.
And they would tell your generation to go towards joy always.
Yeah. And
And that's what you have to
that's
do.
my goal.
You're good for
basically.
you. Yeah.
And what I like about this is that now you've created like a theme for us that runs through this whole episode of, we didn't invent this. Because I love what you're saying and the way you're saying it, and it makes so much sense. But again, we didn't invent it. Because while you're saying
We're
that
the
stuff, and
stewards.
you're talking to him, which him and I are almost a whole generation apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but when you're telling him what you're telling him, and I'm thinking to myself, the way you're talking is the way I talk to my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, growing up, everything was gay. Somebody,
Yeah.
you stub your toe, stupid gay chair.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I
Everything
know,
was
yeah.
gay.
Mm.
And now my daughter, who's 17, looks at me and goes, "Why would you say something like that?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense." And it's
Exactly.
so they're also teaching us, and just like what you said.
Well-
now he's got a 2-year-old, and now he's gonna try harder.
And look at all my generation going, "What is this woke stuff?" Well, it's called empathy for another generation.
right,
It's called human compassion, is what it is. And yeah. I mean, I look back at my old tapes and go, "Oh my God."
See, but that is actually one of the things I love about comedy, is that's the space where we should be able to play around with ideas that make people uncomfortable.
Yes. I've just recently, and of course we're bringing it back to me because it always comes back to me. Anyway, I just recently did a show in New Mexico with one of my protege. Well, he's the son of a really great comic, and he's becoming a really great comic himself. His name is Dylan Jenkins, and I was playing around one night with the audience, and I walked down a road that I hadn't been down in a long time. I walked down a premise that I was like, "Oh my God, well, I'm in it now." And Dylan was back in the green room, and I go, "Dylan, get your ass out here. You got to listen to this and see if this is viable. If this is too gross, you got to tell me." And I did this bit, and it was about, I had written it many, 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 many years ago about dating a younger man. Skip forward about, I'm going to say probably 8-9 years ago, I got hired by a university alumni women's group. Now that bit was put on YouTube
Right.
on an old clip. And they wanted me. Oh, yeah, you got to have, oh yeah, we're going to have you up here. Okay, great. And then I get a phone call saying one of our people said they saw that you did a bit about, oh no, it was about a younger man dating a younger man and a child, and that's just not acceptable. And I said, I never said it was a child. And I said, what? It's,
Yeah.
and I said, but I'm the nemesis in this story. I'm not. And she says, well, she complained. And I said, well, then she doesn't have to show up. And she says, well, we just can't. I said, you know something? I'm going to say this respectfully. Y'all should go fuck yourself. Because I'm not going to be told what's appropriate. I've been doing this a long time. I'm always appropriate for my audience.
Right.
I am not a cringeworthy comic. I don't do it. I don't seek it out. It makes me gross. It feel gross.
Right.
And if you can pull it off, good for you. I'm not one of them. So but I pulled it out. And Dylan goes, you got to put that back in the act. And so I'm trying to put it back in the act because now it's appropriate. But I put it in a different context. And, but that's me being aware of the social
Right. Well, and
climate of this generation.
Yeah, like you said earlier, write it clean and dirty.
Be aware.
Be able to
of,
adjust your set based on where you're at.
I mean, you would never say the F, and I'm not talking about the F word, the other F word.
Right.
You wouldn't say that. It's like the N word. You wouldn't say that.
Right.
A guy last night, I do a bit about hearing a woman in a grocery store call a clerk the C word.
Oh.
And I don't say the word.
Yeah.
I don't like the word. I don't
Yeah.
want to say the word.
Yeah.
And a guy in the audience, yelled it out.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "You're the problem.
Yep.
You're the problem." And he was, and he shut up.
We're talking about the British C word, the one that they love.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
yes.
one of my favorite
Yes.
words.
Well, it is. I'm not saying I'm a virgin. I'm
No, I
not saying
know.
I have, but
But you have to put it in the right place at the right time.
It is used very sparingly. Never in my act.
Mm-hmm.
As a woman, never in my act.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's just not something. It's like the N word. I would never.
Right.
It's just. I was raised that way. You never say that. That's
Right.
just something you don't say. But, and, I don't monitor other people, but, but the whole sensitivity is because of you, because of the younger generations and the climate of, diversity and acceptance.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And just
whatever
to
God
clarify,
you
like,
believe in it.
Right. Yeah.
just to clarify, that's one of my favorite words.
Uh-huh.
I would, if I wouldn't say it in front of you,
But not in anger,
right? And I definitely don't say it in
and
anger.
not in anger, and not and it. I'm not gonna. People use words, and they use.
It's context.
It's
that
it's
matters.
context, yeah, and it's also it's how, yeah, it's. I'm in a performance.
Right.
I have my audience to think about.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the guys that got up and did rape jokes for years. I mean, it finally has slowed down, but it was a rape joke this, rape joke that.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
80% of the women in that audience have experienced this, pal. You don't know that, but they have.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's there's
On some levels.
Yeah, there's definitely like an awareness that you should have when you're going in to meet with a group of what, because like that joke, even a rape joke,
And
in
men
the right
too.
context,
Yeah.
just in a place where it's not going to be something that's going to impact somebody like in a triggering way,
Right.
and not, but it's not. You can't just say, oh, you could say a rape joke in front of just men because they wouldn't be. But no, because if there are men in that group who
That have been
would
raped,
think this is a good idea, or that have been victims
Right.
themselves,
Victims, yeah.
then that joke now it's not falling in a joking way. It's not funny anymore.
Yeah, it re-victimizes them
Right.
in some way, and it and I'm all for okay if it's funny, you really got to pick your crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You really have to
Absolutely.
pick your crowd. Who is the comic that
And it's-
Chappelle?
Oh yeah, Dave Chappelle.
Chappelle is
For those of you at home
he's-
who don't know who Dave Chappelle is, she's going to tell us.
well, Chappelle has walked the line, and I get it, and I would never say don't watch Dave Chappelle, but Dave Chappelle is he's stuck on it. He's stepped on his dick several times, but he's also Dave Chappelle,
Right.
and he has done the work.
Oh yeah.
and
oh,
he
yeah.
has, you know, and he has earned that right, and you have a choice. You don't
Yeah.
have to watch him. You don't
Mhm.
have to like him.
Well, and that's why
that's
I
it,
said the
you
thing
know.
earlier about
Mhm.
comedies where we should be allowed to play with things that make us uncomfortable, because it's like if
Make
we,
you uncomfortable, make your audience uncomfortable.
well, I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think really making yourself uncomfortable is the best.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's good for an audience if they're there, they know they're coming to a comedy show, they
Mhm.
know what they're getting themselves
Yeah.
into, then it's good for them to be able to dance on that line of, ooh, like if this was a dinner table, that
You
would
have to make
offend
them
me.
really like you first.
Right,
Mhm.
yes. And
You
that's
have
what I
to-
was going to say is that
yeah.
it can't be 100% of that.
Well, and you can't open with it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you'll be digging out of a hole. I mean, I've had to dig out of a hole for the person in front of me so
Right.
many times, because they've done real sexist stuff in front of me, and the audience is already uncomfortable, and then I walk on stage
Right.
and they're going, "Oh my God, she had to listen to this,"
Right.
Mhm.
and
And so that at the beginning of your set now, they're all sullen.
well,
And
they are
serious.
not willing to take, silly old me
Right,
so you have to tiptoe up to them,
right.
and that's but that takes a lot of time and a lot of mistakes.
See, but and this is again now this is where it's my own personal opinion. As somebody who loves stand-up comedy, would love to do it and be able to be successful, but I have not. I am an audience member, and I think audience members have a responsibility as well. If you're
Not to
coming
get
to a comedy show
exactly.
and you don't like the C word, and you're in a show, and that word gets said, if it's going to be something that really triggered you into a sense that like it's no good, you shouldn't stand up and yell and scream at the comic.
No,
You should
it's a choice.
discreetly go to go ahead and excuse
Leave.
yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a family member or friend there who goes with you, and you guys can work through whatever it is that triggered you. But you as an audience member have a responsibility to not come mess somebody else's setup just because something personal happened in your life.
And boy, we have seen that, haven't we? There's a whole YouTube, 9,000 YouTube channels,
Yeah.
just for hecklers alone.
Yeah.
Some of the women that I've seen
Yeah.
working have been called out because it's just been assumed that they're of a political stance and not, they're not, it's like, what? I didn't
Yeah.
even, I haven't even talked about politics, or
Right.
whatever it is. Why would you assume that happened to me? And they barked up the wrong tree.
Right. Well, and that's the other piece of it is that because it's context, right? Like, this isn't supposed to be a political show,
Yeah.
but it is a podcast and not a stand-up routine.
Right.
So if we talk about real subjects, then that's okay. It's not, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a totally different beast.
Right.
And I think that you're 100% right. It depends on how you lay that out and what context you do it in.
Right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of comedy here today and a lot of generational differences. And you have a chance here to to create conversation too.
Yes.
You really are. Yeah, and this nation needs that right now. We need conversation. We need logical, non-heated
Yes.
conversation.
Exactly.
And hopefully we'll get it. And comedy plays a huge part. You don't see a lot of real strong GOP comics out there.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
Part of our growth in this country is music will bring us together.
Hmm.
Comedy will show us how human we are.
Yeah.
And it can bring us together too. It just has to, everybody has to get their panties out of a wad.
Well, and I think,
Absolutely.
and that's
Yeah.
a part of it too. Is that like, so it's there's something about, and this is why I think it's good to be able to get a little bit uncomfortable with it. Is that there's something about when a comic goes on stage and goes, my daughter yelled the F word in the middle of Safeway.
Yep.
You know, almost every parent in the room goes, God, I remember when my kid did that. You know what I mean?
They're hearing it somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you're playing with that and you can find that these dynamics that's almost universal, everybody's had some
Exactly.
version of this.
Yeah.
That's where comedy brings out
And
that
that's, you know,
important thing.
that's Brad Upton. That's Jeff Allen. That's,
Right.
you know, that's Conan O'Brien. That's those guys. Those are these, you know, these wonderful comedians that have, you know, that brings humanity to the surface. And, you know, we're all in this boat together, pal.
Right.
This is how it is, you know. So anyway, this has been fun, guys.
It has, and we should
Absolutely.
wrap up. We
know.
took way more of your time than I
I know.
expected.
I can go
I'm-
on and on. I love talking comedy.
Yeah, and I've
So-
enjoyed this so much.
Oh,
Like,
thanks. I'm
um,
so.
it's-
Now I'm going to disappoint you tonight. So
I doubt it. I doubt
Highly
it.
doubt that.
Yeah, well, don't count me out. So, you know.
But yes, thank you very much for
Thanks
coming
a lot.
on. If you're ever in
Oops.
town again, I would love to. I mean, I feel
Well,
like I
wanna
could talk
know-
to you for hours.
Well,
so.
I want the lunch. I want to know. You know, I want to know how I can help. You know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll
promote
keep you in the loop
Promote
on
you.
that,
Yeah, please
and-
do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, yeah, there's a lot we could keep talking for an
Yeah,
hour.
we can.
Let's
Yeah, we
wrap
can.
it up. Everybody, check out Susan on her Instagram, and we'll
Funny
put
old
those
bag.
links in there.
Yep.
Yeah, funny old
Big
bag. And we'll put the links in there. We'll have her up and on there, and
Thanks
I'm
a lot.
excited about tonight too.
Thank you so much. Thanks both of you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Till next time.